Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. Today I'm going to explain you how I created this beautiful design of a little boy dreaming to become a professional basketball player. We started with this background picture and then I added a mask and hide the top area. Then I added another picture, this one, and kept only the bottom area of the picture. Then on this one I tried to match the colors by using selective color, and on the neutrals colors I have changed the cyan and magenta to have the same colors as the previous photo. Alright, and then I added a hue and saturation and made everything like a gray blue color. Then I added a sky. I used this picture and added a mask and kept the top area and hide the bottom area. Then I added this one and set it to, normally it was like that, and I set the blending mode to screen and the same added a mask and kept the right side of the picture. And then I duplicate this picture and move it to the left side, our left side, and kept that area. So far this is what we have. Then between the ground and the mountains I added this fog, so later on when we'll have the subjects they should be much better visible in the front of our point of view. So this is just a normal layer. Let's quickly do a fog. So create a new layer, let's hide this one. Then I have this brush that I gave to you in my previous tutorials. I will give it to you today again. And by using this brush, I set the flow to around 30%. And with this brush selected, hold Alt and choose one of the background colors and just start to click around and then change the color and just paint around, changing the colors all the time. You can take a color from the sky and so on. So this is how I created this fog. Let's move on to the family picture. So this is the picture that I used. It's from unsplash.com and I have selected the subjects with the pen tool. Just take the pen tool by using the letter P and just start to select something like that. This is really quickly, and then when you finish, let's say that we have finished, just pay attention to the sides. So this is what we selected so far. You have this selection. You can either press Ctrl and Enter now and it will do this selection, and then press the mask tool and you have the selection. Then you can do the same process again by using the pen tool, and with these areas you select those areas that you want to hide, something like that. Press Ctrl and Enter and then hold Alt and press Delete, and this is the way you select the subject. We are back to our background, and now here I have this selection that I just showed you how I created it, and I duplicated this selection because it's because I wanted to have it in case that I do something wrong. So I just press Ctrl and J and it duplicates a layer. And then because it's a smart object, I don't want it to be a smart object. I will show you why. I'm right clicking on the layer and then rasterize layer, and now I can edit it how I want. So this is our layer, and because I wanted to have this layer to fill the image on this rasterized layer, just select with the rectangle marquee tool, select this area and then go to Edit and choose Content Aware Scale. Then hold Shift and drag the left side to the left and press Enter, and then deselect by pressing Ctrl and D. And here it is. Photoshop uses the Content Aware fill to scale this area to make it look really nice. So this is this selection that we have so far, and then I added some glows behind them. So behind them, using a color dodge adjustment layer, this one, color dodge, I painted with a blue color behind them to add this glow. And then I did the same thing by using the screen mode. So let me quickly show you. So you create a new layer and you set it to color dodge. Okay, and then you take the brush tool, use the soft brush this time, and hold Alt and click on the blue color of the sky, let's say this one, and just start to paint behind them. And here it is. It's a really nice glow, and you can do the same thing by using the screen mode this time. So create a new layer and set it to screen and repeat the process, and here it is. You have a really nice glow behind them. And then I placed everything into one group, the family with the glows, and I added a mask and mask those areas from the background, their background, and I try to blend the previous background with their background. At this moment it doesn't make sense because we need to add some colors, and as you can see here on the legs part, we need to do something extra. So on this layer, let's hide the mask for a bit. So on this layer I selected the legs part, so those parts of their legs, because as you can see here, they are like erased, hidden actually, and then I place it on top of them, and it looks like they are from the same picture, so the background is still behind them. Alright, so it's just really simple. You go to this layer with them and you select them by using the pen tool. You select them again, let's say something like that. Okay, so after you select those areas, you press Ctrl and Enter, and press Ctrl and C to copy this part. Go on top and press Ctrl and V, and you paste it this part of their legs. Alright, and then place it on top of everything. And now if we hide the area behind their legs, the legs are still there. So this is how I did this part. And then I didn't like the way I made the selection with the hair, because it's really hard to select the hair. And then I painted the hair on top of the little boy's hair. In my previous tutorial I just showed you how to create a hair using the mouse and also the tablet. You can watch that tutorial and learn how to create this little hair. Alright, and then I did the same thing, but not that intense to her hair. I drew some parts of her hair also. Alright, so this is what we have so far. Let's zoom out, and then I try to match the colors with the background. So I added a selective color, this one, and I modified the neutrals. And then I added a hue and saturation, because here under their legs, this area seemed to be more purple, to the purple side of the colors. So I added hue and saturation, and I painted only that area to match it with my background. All those things, selective color, hue and saturation, or brightness and contrast, you can find them here on the adjustment layers. So here you can find all of them. Alright, so this is what we have so far. Let's move on. I added a brightness and contrast and made everything darker. And then I added a soft light adjustment layer, which in my case I call it dodge and burn. You can do that by going to layer, new layer, and here choose soft light and fill it with 50% gray. Then take the brush tool and using the black color now, let's zoom in. If you paint with the black color on the parts that are already dark, let's say this part and this part, as you can see, it darkens them more. So this works exactly as dodge and the burn works from this menu. With the burn you darken the parts, and with the dodge you make the parts of the picture lighter. So in our case, burn works with the brush set to black, and if you want to brighten parts of the picture, you should switch to white. And now if I paint with white, it will make those parts brighter. So this is my method of dodge and burn that I've learned from Pixelperfect from YouTube. And then I added some highlights. So for the highlights part, go again to layer, new layer, and here set the blending mode to linear dodge and fill it with black. Then take again the brush tool, this time set it to orange, bright orange, and then if you paint, don't forget the flow should be around 3-4%, not too much. And then if you paint, it will make those parts brighter. And then after you finish with painting, but not too intense, you can go and double click on the layer and then hold Alt and drag this slider to the right, and it will disperse that orange color into the subjects. So let's see, this is those are the highlights, the base for the highlights actually. All right, so we have this so far, and then I added more orange highlights, but this time I didn't use here this blend div, so it's without. So it's the same thing. You create the same layer, new layer, and set it to linear dodge, fill it with black, and this time you make the size of the brush really small, and you start to paint with that orange color on the sides of your subject. So in our case, something like that. Those are the orange highlights that we have, and then as I always do in my tutorials, I add the white highlights. So those white highlights are the same. I'm using the same linear dodge, but the color is set to white. So go to layer, new layer, the same thing with the linear dodge, fill it with black, and then hold Alt if the layer is not inside the group. So hold Alt and click between the layers, and then with the white color selected, you can paint on the sides again, but don't forget the flow should be really low. So now I'm painting with the white color on top of that orange color and on the sides of my subject, something like that. And then when you think you finish, just use the smudge tool to drag this white color more into your subject clothes, for example. So let's see. Let's say that we finish with this part, and then I'm switching to the smudge tool, and now I increase a bit the size, and I'm dragging this white color more inside. Because I don't want to have something like a line. I want to have this more dispersed into the clothes, let's say, of the person. So this is how smudge tool works perfectly with the brush tool. For example, here on the leg, let's do it again. Take the brush tool. So now if I paint here with white, I paint with the white color with the brush on top of that orange. Let's paint a bit. Now I'm using the mouse. Usually when I'm doing those designs, I use the tablet. It's much faster and easier, but now I'm using the mouse because not everybody has a tablet. All right, so now when you finish with those lines, choose again smudge tool, and now let's see if I'm dragging, it makes that white color disperse more on our subject, and I love it more like that rather than a straight line. So yeah, this is how I do my highlights. All right, let's erase this one, bring back the original one. So this is what we have until now, and then this reflection is something on the ground which will reflect our magic that will come later. So this is a normal layer set to overlay. So just create a new layer, set it to overlay, and with the brush tool, let's increase a bit the flow to 12%, let's say. And now with an orange color, I painted on the ground, something like that, something like a color reflection. And then I double clicked and I hold Alt. And while I'm holding Alt, I'm dragging this slider to the right, and it disperses the lights really nice. And then I set the opacity to something really low. And yeah, this is how I created that reflection on the ground. That now doesn't make sense because we don't have that light on top, that magic, but we'll come back to that later. All right, so this is what we have so far, and on top of everything, I added this photo filter. You can find in here on the adjustment layer. So go here on the bottom part and choose photo filter. And from the photo filter, let's hide the other one, choose color, in our case this blue color, and you can drag the slider if you want to have it more intense or less intense. It's just up to your preferences. Alright, so this is our design so far. Let's move on with the magic part. So this magic is something like my signature. I have learned this technique from Max Sabin and from Nemanja Sekulic, and since I've learned this technique, I have improved it, and I use this magic almost in all my designs. As you can see on my Instagram account, this is my Instagram account. If you haven't followed me yet, please follow me, because here I post a lot of designs and I can answer your questions. I think first time when I use this technique was on this design, which was a collaboration with Hey Friesen, and then I tried to improve it more, and I worked a lot, and I use it here. Another collaboration with Florin. Here on the skull, and then I think here was too much. I use it a lot. This is a collaboration with a friend of mine with MS Visual, and then here a bit not too intense, but yeah, here also this is another collaboration with my friend Blended Graphics. I have used it here on the sword, and yeah, I love this technique. I have used it also in this design here on this one down below, with this monster, or also this magic, and then I think I have used it here also, yeah, on the sword. And then I created a tutorial to teach you how to create this magic also, because I have used it a lot in my designs, and as I said, I've used it a lot. And also I created this shape, this musical shape, which I really love. And then I try to improve, and this is my latest post. And as you can see, it's really different from the old ones, because I try to work more on this technique. And today I'm going to teach you how I created it. So you saw how I used my magic on my previous designs. As I told you, it's something like a signature already, because I'm in love with this magic thing. And let me quickly show you again how to create this magic. But of course you should see my tutorials, because that will take again like 30 minutes to teach you. But quickly let me show you how to create this one. So first of all, you start by creating a new layer, which you are going to set to screen and fill it with black. And then create a new layer, an empty layer, and then go to the adjustment layer and choose gradient map. Here you must do some adjustments. So the first color from the left should be black, and the color from the right should be white. And now you have this slider divided in two parts, the left part and the right part. So in the middle of the left part I click once, and here if you want your magic to be, let's say, orange, you choose an orange color. If you want your magic to be blue, you choose a blue color. So it's up to you. Let's say in our case we use this orange color. Hit OK, and then I'm going to click again where the middle was, something like that, and then I'm going to choose this orange, but this time a lighter, a brighter orange. And here in the middle, almost in the middle, it's not like a precise thing. You choose this orange again, but this time really bright, and hit OK. And now you have all those three layers. Now you can continue in two ways. You can select all those three layers and choose to include them into a group, and then you set the group to screen. Alright, and now nothing happens because everything is set to screen. And now if you want, you can paint on this empty layer with the white color. So now take the brush tool and switch to the white color, and now if you paint on the screen, you see it does something like an orange. Alright, so this empty layer is where the magic happens. So this is one method. The other method is to let's duplicate those three layers. Let's hide the group. So the other method is to include those two layers inside this screen layer. So hold Alt and click between the layers, and you have the same thing. So as you can see now, the empty layer and the gradient map, it's inside, they are inside this screen black layer. So now if you paint, it will do the same thing if you paint on that empty layer. So it's up to you how you want to continue with this one. Usually I work with this technique, I include them inside this empty layer, but of course it's the same thing if you use the group. So having a group, maybe it's much better because you don't need to include them one inside another one. So yeah, let's go with this method. And now everything that you want, it will happen on this layer. In our design, let me show you. I drew something like a flower. It's not really my thing, drawing flowers, but yeah, let's try. Maybe if I would have spent more time, I would have drew another or a more beautiful, much beautiful flower. So this is how I did it. I just drew with the mouse those petals, and then I drew more to the side, and yeah, this is something like a flower. And then I increase the size and decrease the opacity to something like 20%. And let's zoom in. I paint it inside to have something like a background to the flowers. Don't forget that if you press many times in the same place, that area will turn to white. So for example, let's decrease the size of the brush. Now if I paint more in the same place, so here on this line will turn white. So this is how this gradient map works. So if you want to set the exterior, let's say the sides of the flower to white, you can increase the opacity and paint many times in the same place, and that part will turn white. So yeah, this is how I created this part. Don't worry, you can always erase some parts if you do some mistakes. And then let's choose the eraser tool or press the letter E, and let's erase this part. Alright, and now with the smudge tool, I dragged the sides of the flower, something like that, and I made it much better using the smudge tool. So this is how I created the flower part. And then not to mess up this part of the flower, I created a new layer, and I increased a lot the size of the brush, decreased the opacity again to something like 10-15%. And now if I paint around, it adds this little glow on the image. All right, so this is another thing that I did. And then I created a new layer, and now here let me show you, because we need the action to happen on top of the picture, the dream of the little boy. I set the flow and opacity to 100% so you can see better, and then I drew something like that. Here on top, I hold shift, let's say, and drag a line and another one to the sides. And then here where it intersects, I let's decrease the size. I created something like a curve that comes to the flower. All right, something like that. And yeah, this is how I started this top part. And then in the middle here, I started to draw with white color. So this is my base for this magic thing. And then using the smudge tool, I played around. Let's switch to smudge tool. And then I played around with this area that now looks awkward. And I dragged and pushed, and you know, in all the directions. You can increase the size and play around. Now I'm using the mouse, and I'm playing around with those parts. And now if you use the smudge tool, everything is so random. Now I'm doing some shapes, but if I try again later, I will do other shapes, because everything, it's really random. You cannot do the same thing twice with using the smudge tool, because you click many times and it always really random. So then I choose the eraser tool and decrease the opacity and try to erase some parts here because they were too white. And yeah, you can do this magic by using this method, and you can play around with the eraser tool, the smudge tool, and the brush tool. Those are the tools that will help you in achieving the magic. And then I did another thing. I added a hue and saturation, and press colorize, and increase the saturation, and I added another color, let's say this color, and on the mask press Ctrl and I to invert the mask. So now everything is set to normal again, and in some parts, if you want that red or magenta color, take the brush tool and set it again to white. And now let's say if I want some of that color, it was too intense, let's change the flow to something like 3-4%. Now if I paint here, you will see that it will add that that color that I have. And of course you can play with many colors. It's just up to you. Of course this is not finished. You should use the smudge tool more. Here for example, use the smudge tool and play more with the shape, because now it looks really bad. But yeah, this takes some time. You can play around and drag some parts, let's say something like that, and then make some circles like that. So I'm drawing like clockwise now, and here for example I'm drawing a shape, and I'm playing with the mouse in the other direction, something like reverse clockwise. And yeah, you can draw some shape like that. And of course if you want another color, just add another hue and saturation, set it to colorize, and increase the saturation. Let's take this purple, and then press Ctrl and I on the mask, and the same, take the brush tool, and where you want that purple to be, just paint on that area, and you'll have that purple on that area. And of course if you see this white which is too intense, change to the eraser tool, and if you erase, it will erase that area, and yeah, it does all those things. So that's how I created my magic. So I drew the flower like I just showed you, and then I added that glow that we talk about, and then I added that weird shape that comes from the flower and goes to the sky, something like that. And yeah, I played around more with the smudge tool. Everything you see here is done with the smudge tool. It's just a random thing. I try to put some of that magic on the sides of this triangle, let's say, but I finished with masking it later on, so this won't be visible anyway. Okay, and then I added those hue and saturation that I just showed you about, this color, and then another color, this purple color. And now this is how my magic looks like. Alright, let's move on to the top part. So here on the top part, I have added another layer, which is this one on top of my magic to mask the sides of my magic. Is just a normal layer, and I just added a mask to mask the exterior. So this is a layer that is on top of our magic, and of course can be set to any color, but in our case I left it like that with the white color, because inside this layer I have added this picture with this basketball player. This one is just inside. So add a picture and then hold Alt and click between the layers to add it inside. Alright, and then because our little boy our little boy's hair, it's a bit blonde, I made some adjustment to his hair, and I added a solid color adjustment layer, and then a selective color, and where I have changed the blacks. And then I drew some hair because I wanted to have a bit of long hair. It is visible like that in a 200% zoom, but if you zoom out, that part is not that visible, but it doesn't matter. I just love to do it because, I don't know, it reflects the reality much better. And then here I noticed that our image ends too bad, so it's something like a line. So I use the clone tool and mask that area again. So this is a clone tool. So just create a new layer and take the clone tool from clone stamp tool from the menu, and then hold Alt and just paint on those areas. And yeah, this makes the transition much better. All right, so this is the clone. that I used here on the bottom part. Then I have added the brightness and contrast and made everything darker, and I decreased the brightness and increased the contrast. So our image looks like that now. And on the sides of this, let's say, triangle or shape, weird shape, I have added some smoke, this smoke, and I have made the transition much better. So let's see, create a new layer and take the cloud or the mist or whatever you're using, and right click and drag this circle to the top to have another angle. And now with the white color selected, I'm just painting on the sides of our shape, and on the other side I did the same thing, change the angle of our brush, and yeah, I played around with this brush and mask the sides of our shape. Alright, so this is the layer that I have so far, and then I have added another one, but this time was with some color in it, so with some red color, or let's say magenta color, because I wanted to have this transition between the colors of the magic and this white from the top part. And then I did the same thing, I added more colors, but this time I used the overlay. So if you want to quickly learn, let's create a new layer and set it to overlay, and take the same brush tool, the cloud brush tool, but this time let's set it, let's change the color to some orange color, and then I painted on the sides with that orange color, right click and change the angle from the top part, and then draw again some orange colors, right, and then choose another color, this magenta, let's say, color, and then do the same thing, just paint around, change the angle by using the right click, and yeah, this is how I created the transition between the magic and white smoke. Alright, and yeah, this is the top part, and in front of them I have added some rocks because I want to have something in front. Those are the rocks. Of course they are too bright. I added some exposure, made them really dark, then another selective color, and changed their colors by changing the neutrals. They were too brown and I made them more to the blue colors, and then with the exposure I made them really dark. That adjustment, that selective color is not that visible anymore, but doesn't matter, I just wanted to do it. And then I added some highlights, as I showed you with the blend diff method. You just draw with an orange color, and the layer should be set to linear dodge. Alright, and then I added that dodge and burn, and of course, because they are so dark, you cannot really see everything, but it doesn't matter. I just made them the way I showed you here on the subject. So we first added the base with the orange color, then that dodge and burn set to soft light, and I have darkened more some parts, and then the highlights, those orange highlights, and then some really not that strong white highlights. Alright, so those are the rocks, and then when I have finished with everything, I just press that shortcut Ctrl Alt Shift and I, and this is doing like a screenshot from everything that you have, this layer, and then right click and convert it to a smart object. First thing that I did, I added some tilt shift blur. So go to filter, and here from the blur gallery choose tilt shift blur, and how this blur works, everything that's in the middle is visible, and what's behind the dashed line, it's starting to become blurred. So now if you drag this line to the bottom and this one also, you see nothing is blurred, but you can play around something like that. So this what's inside is blurred and what's outside is not blurred. But in our case I wanted to have this also this basketball player visible, so I dragged this line to the top, and I kept only the bottom part blurred and the top part was visible. Alright, so this is the first filter that I applied, and then I played around with the camera raw filter. So go to filter and choose camera raw filter. Alright, and here I have played with the basics. You can choose the same settings as I have used. or you can use your own settings. Then I have played a bit with the detail. I increased a lot the noise reduction and the color noise reduction because the original photo was really bad. Let's zoom in, it still is. So without this noise reduction, you see it's really sharpened and it has a lot of noise, and I really didn't like that. So I increased the noise reduction and the color noise reduction, and it looks more like a painting. And then I have used the color grading and played a bit with the midtones, highlights and shadows, and that was it. So as I always do at the end of any design, I add some things that are floating around that are on top of my subjects to blend them much better with my design. So yeah, this is how I created this design. I really hope that you understood my process. If you have any questions, please don't forget to write me a comment down below, and also subscribe to this channel to be in touch with my latest photo manipulations. I wish you a wonderful week and see you next time.